This is a realm where the strange is ordinary, where nature experiments in whispers and shadows. And yet, it is real, tangible, a cathedral of abyssal life built in eternal night. Tonight, we descend into the Mariana Trench, into the silent abyss, where strange gelatinous creatures drift like phantoms. If this journey into the unknown stirs your curiosity, if the unseen corners of our planet call to you, then join us. Subscribe, like, and share this descent into the unreal depths, so together we can uncover the hidden beauty beneath the darkness. The ocean does not reveal its secrets easily. It begins with an illusion, a calm, glittering surface that stretches to the horizon, blue and inviting, almost gentle. But beneath that fragile shimmer lies a world that consumes light, a cathedral of pressure and darkness where the familiar laws of life dissolve. As we prepare to descend, the last rays of sunlight fracture across the waves, scattering like shards of glass. Each reflection is a goodbye. What awaits below is not just depth, but transformation, the unraveling of everything we think we know about the world beneath our feet. The descent begins quietly. The hum of machinery, the hiss of oxygen, the groan of the hull as it adjusts to the changing weight of water pressing against it. Outside the viewport, the blue deepens, soft at first, then richer, darker, until it feels like falling through ink. The sound of the surface fades, replaced by the slow, rhythmic pulse of the submersible. Every meter takes us closer to a place where no sunlight has ever reached. 1,000 meters down, colors vanish. Red disappears first, then orange, then yellow. The world fades into a monochrome palette, blues giving way to black. And yet, the deeper we go, the more alive it feels. Every creak of metal, every flicker on the sonar, whispers that we are crossing into another realm. It is easy to forget that the ocean, vast as it seems, is a living body. It breathes through currents, it dreams through waves, and its pulse, slow and immense, beats strongest here in the deep. As we fall through the water column, pressure mounts in silence, invisible but immense. For every 10 meters we sink, another atmosphere of force presses upon the vessel. By 1,000 meters, it feels like balancing the weight of 10 elephants on every inch of metal. And yet, life persists here. Delicate, translucent, unbothered by what would crush steel. Out of the dark, a jellyfish drifts past, its bell pulsing with faint light, tendrils trailing like threads of smoke. It glows for no one, signaling only to the abyss. In that moment, its fragile form feels like defiance, proof that life adapts even where existence seems impossible. Our instruments hum softly, their lights flickering against the polished metal interior. The crew speaks in low voices, reverent, as if afraid to disturb the silence outside. On the monitor, the readings fluctuate, temperature dropping, salinity shifting, currents thickening. We are entering the bathypelagic zone now, the midnight layer of the ocean, where the surface world ceases to exist. Above us, 3,000 feet of water isolate us from every sound, every echo of life we knew. The sense of detachment grows heavier. In this silence, time loses its edges. There is only descent. A slow, deliberate surrender to gravity, to pressure, to the weight of the unknown. At 2,000 meters, the windows show nothing but black. The only light is artificial, the narrow beams of the submersible's lamps slicing through the void. Their reach is limited, swallowed quickly by the density of the water. Within that cone of visibility, strange shapes drift, some familiar, most not. A gelatinous mass twists like a slow-moving storm. Transparent fins flutter around a body with no discernible head. A translucent fish with enormous eyes hovers for a moment, reflecting the submersible's lights like distant moons, then vanishes. Here, creatures are not bound by the forms we know. Evolution has sculpted them from necessity and imagination alike, bending biology into art. The deeper we fall, the more fragile we feel. Every sound from within the vessel seems amplified, a reminder that between us and crushing death lies only a few inches of reinforced metal. The hull groans, but it holds. We trust in engineering, but even that trust feels small against the magnitude of the deep. We think of the explorers who came before, Picard and Walsh aboard the Trieste in 1960, their descent into Challenger Deep lasting nearly 5 hours. They saw almost nothing, yet everything. They proved that humanity could touch the bottom of the world and return. Their courage echoes through time, through this water, through this descent. Every new dive is a continuation of that first act of defiance against the impossible. 3,000 meters. The light from our lamps reflects off falling particles, flakes of organic debris, tiny remnants of the world above. Marine snow, the slow, eternal rain that feeds the deep. Each speck once belonged to life, a fragment of plankton, a scale, a cell, drifting down for weeks, months, even years before reaching this realm. Down here, nothing is wasted. Every death nourishes something else. The cycle continues, silent and perfect. The snow drifts endlessly, like stars in reverse, falling toward the unseen ground. Inside, condensation forms on the glass. Breath fogs against the viewport. The sense of space becomes abstract. The human mind was never built to comprehend this kind of depth. It feels infinite. The surface world, so full of noise and light, has receded completely. What remains is a quiet that feels almost holy. Every movement, every vibration, every heartbeat carries weight. The ocean does not care for us, yet it accepts us, briefly, conditionally, as guests within its shadowed cathedral. The descent becomes a kind of meditation, a surrender to forces older and larger than anything we can name. At 4,000 meters, the sensors begin to register temperature changes. The water grows colder, denser. Small flashes appear in the dark. Bioluminescent pulses, brief and soft, like messages written in code. Some come from creatures too small to see. Others, from beings large enough to sense us. The lights are communication, camouflage, attraction. Life rewriting physics to exist without the sun. Out of the murk, a giant siphonophore stretches across our view, longer than a blue whale, a colony of countless individuals working as one organism. Its filaments shimmer with blue fire, undulating gracefully. It drifts past us, indifferent, ancient. For a moment, we glimpse what eternity might look like if it could move. The captain's voice breaks the silence. 5,000 meters. The words hang heavy, almost reverent. We are halfway to the trench floor. Outside, pressure has reached levels that would crush a human body to pulp in seconds. Yet here, in this fragile bubble of steel, we remain alive, witnesses to a world that thrives under that same burden. The realization humbles and exhilarates in equal measure. Down here, life is not fragile. We are. And still, we continue to fall, drawn by something deeper than curiosity. Perhaps it is instinct, the same impulse that drives a moth toward light or a human toward darkness. The need to see, to know, to touch the unseen. And so, the descent continues. The hum of the vessel fades to a steady rhythm, a heartbeat echoing in the dark. Outside, the ocean is endless. We are no longer falling through water, but through time. Each meter brings us closer, not just to the bottom of the sea, but to the beginning of life itself. For in this depth lies the memory of Earth, untouched, unchanged, eternal. At 5,000 meters, the descent becomes something else entirely. The surface world feels like a myth, a half-remembered story told by those who have never known true darkness. The light that once shimmered through the water is gone, consumed by distance and depth. The submersible's lamps reach only a few meters ahead now, carving narrow tunnels of visibility through an ocean that seems infinite. Outside, the blackness is total, but it is not empty. It hums with invisible life. Every flicker of light on the sonar, every ripple of current, is a reminder that we are surrounded by existence older and stranger than anything that walks the land. The hull groans faintly, a low metallic moan like a whisper from the deep itself. The crew listens in silence. Down here, even the smallest sound carries weight. Every click of the gauge, every breath drawn, feels louder, more significant. The air inside is thick with humidity and quiet awe. The pressure outside has reached nearly 8 tons per square inch. To imagine it is to imagine the weight of the entire atmosphere multiplied 1,000 times, pressing evenly from every direction. And yet, in that impossible weight there is life, there is movement, there is beauty. A faint glow appears ahead, pale blue, pulsing in slow rhythm. The pilot angles the lights toward it, and the creature emerges from the dark like a living lantern. It is a ctenophore, a comb jelly, its transparent body rippling with lines of light that shimmer like rainbows on glass. Each pulse of its cilia refracts the faint illumination of our lamps, turning the water around it into a living prism. It moves with impossible grace, a ghost adrift in gravity's slow descent. Its body, no thicker than a soap bubble, withstands pressures that would crush metal. In its fragility lies strength, a paradox that defines everything that lives here. Beyond it, faint outlines drift, translucent ribbons, strange tendrils trailing like silk. Some shimmer with green light, others pulse in red, some invisible until the beam catches them, revealing forms so alien they seem sculpted from dreams. Many have no eyes, no bones, no blood, only bioluminescence and movement. They feed on one another in silence, their battles unseen, their victories wordless. Here, survival is not a struggle but an art form, a choreography in the dark. At 6,000 meters, the world begins to change again. The ocean floor approaches, though we cannot yet see it. The sensors detect the shift first, the subtle rise in reflected sonar, the faint echo of solid ground far below. But before the descent reaches its end, there is a layer, an in-between space, where the water becomes heavier, the life rarer, the silence deeper. The submersible drifts through it slowly, like a falling star caught between gravity and stillness. Outside, the currents are sluggish, moving like oil through the dark. Tiny particles drift past, remnants of organic decay, the dust of the living world above. The marine snow grows denser here, each particle a fragment of something once alive. Some glow faintly, feeding on the microscopic bacteria that thrive on decomposition. This is the deep ocean's quiet economy. Death feeding life, endlessly recycling what the sun once gave. The abyss does not waste, it transforms. And in this transformation lies a strange kind of purity. Nothing here is new. Everything is reborn. Suddenly, the lights catch movement, a flash, brief but distinct. The pilot steadies the craft. Out of the dark comes a shape massive and slow, like a curtain of translucent fabric drifting toward us. It is a giant jellyfish, perhaps a deep-sea species rarely seen, its bell wider than the submersible itself. Its tendrils trail below, dozens of meters long, coiling and uncoiling like pale serpents. Each pulse of its body sends ripples through the water, slow and deliberate. For a moment, it hovers before the glass, its delicate tissues flickering in the beam of our lights, then drifts upward, swallowed again by the dark. The sight leaves the crew speechless, not out of fear, but reverence. Down here, beauty and terror share the same shape. At this depth, time seems to stretch and fold. Minutes feel like hours. The human mind is not meant to process such stillness. The only constant is descent, a slow, patient fall through black water that feels endless. Occasionally, faint signals flicker on the sonar. Distant life, perhaps fish or drifting colonies of plankton. But for long stretches, there is nothing. Only darkness, only silence. It is in this emptiness that reflection begins to take hold. The descent ceases to feel like exploration and begins to feel like introspection, as if, in diving into the ocean's depth, we are diving into ourselves. The captain adjusts the ballast tanks. The descent slows. At 7,000 meters, the lights of the submersible strike something solid, a slope of gray sediment, smooth and fine as ash, the trench wall. It rises like the face of a sleeping giant, disappearing into blackness above and below. We drift beside it, tracing its contours. The surface is scarred by centuries of geological movement, ancient landslides frozen in time, the slow crawl of tectonic plates carving the Earth's skin into folds and fractures. Every ridge, every groove tells a story millions of years old. The ocean floor here is not lifeless. It is the memory of the planet, preserved beneath pressure and silence. Tiny movements catch the light along the slope. Small crustaceans scuttle through the silt, their translucent shells glinting like crystal. A worm-like creature retracts into its burrow, glowing faintly as it vanishes. Even here, in what seems like emptiness, life endures. These are the extremophiles, organisms that thrive where nothing else can, feeding on the sparse nutrients that drift down from above. Some rely on chemosynthesis, drawing energy from chemical reactions rather than sunlight. Others wait for chance, for a fragment of falling life to land within reach. In this world, patience is survival. We hover near the slope, floodlights scanning the terrain. It feels as though we are orbiting a planet rather than exploring our own. The walls stretch endlessly, their edges vanishing into nothingness. The scale is overwhelming. The Mariana Trench is not a mere depression in the seafloor. It is a scar carved into the Earth's crust, deeper than any canyon, darker than any night. At its deepest point, Challenger Deep, it plunges nearly 11,000 meters. Fewer humans have seen it with their own eyes than have walked on the moon. The numbers fail to capture what it truly is, not just a depth, but an idea, the physical embodiment of the unknown. The crew grows silent again. The hum of the submersible seems louder now, more fragile. Every light, every sound feels borrowed. Outside, the trench looms vast and indifferent. Inside, hearts beat faster, not out of fear, but awe. To witness the deep is to be humbled by scale, by the realization that the human story, grand as it feels, is only a ripple on the surface of something infinitely larger. As we continue our descent along the trench wall, the last traces of the familiar vanish completely. The pressure gauge passes 9,000 meters. The hull vibrates faintly, a steady tremor that hums like distant thunder. Beyond the glass, the dark feels thicker, heavier, almost physical. The lamps reveal only fragments, a patch of silt, a ripple of movement, a drifting shadow that could be anything or nothing at all. The mind begins to fill the void with imagination. Every glimmer becomes a creature, every shadow a secret. The abyss does not reveal itself easily. It demands patience, surrender, and a willingness to believe in what cannot be fully seen. And so, we descend still deeper into the silence, into the black, into the ancient heart of the world itself. 9,000 meters. At this depth, the ocean no longer feels like water. It is something heavier, more deliberate, a living weight that presses from every direction. The submersible creaks under the immense force, a reminder that we are intruders in a domain that does not welcome us, but tolerates our presence for a fleeting moment. The instruments glow softly, their digital hum the only trace of human technology in a place that predates humanity itself. Outside the viewport, there is no motion, no light, no sound. Only the slow, eternal stillness of the abyss. The beam of our lamps cuts through the dark like a blade through silk, revealing a world that should not exist. The trench floor stretches below us, a flat, gray plain of fine sediment, its texture soft and shifting, sculpted by gravity and time. Every so often, faint shapes move across it, slow, deliberate, spectral. Amphipods, pale and nearly transparent, crawl methodically through the silt, scavenging for organic debris. They are small, no larger than a fingernail, but they carry the resilience of worlds. Around them, fragments of fallen life, bones, scales, fragments of shell, are scattered like artifacts from forgotten eras. This is the end of the ocean's long reign. Everything that once lived above eventually falls here, to be devoured, dissolved, and reborn. The submersible drifts closer to the bottom. Dust rises from the floor, swirling like smoke in the beam of our lights. It is an eerie sight, the movement of matter that hasn't been disturbed in perhaps centuries. Every particle glows briefly before vanishing into the black. There is something almost sacred about this stillness, a reverence that silences words. No storm can reach this place, no sound of waves or wind. Only gravity and decay, playing out their ancient rhythm beneath the crushing weight of the sea. At 10,000 meters, the trench widens into a valley of silence. The sonar pulses, sending invisible waves through the dark. The echoes return, soft, broken, distant, tracing the contours of a world unseen. The terrain rises and falls like frozen dunes, carved by geological time. In the dim light, shapes begin to emerge. Delicate, improbable shapes that seem to hover just above the sediment. One looks like a ribbon twisting in slow motion, its body thin as a strand of silk. Another flickers with faint light, its form barely perceptible. These are the gelatinous hunters of the deep, creatures made of almost nothing, surviving on the barest threads of energy. They float between worlds, neither fish nor ghost, sustained by the invisible currents that sweep through the trench. One drifts close to the submersible, its movement hypnotic. Its bell is translucent, almost invisible until caught in the beam. Inside, veins of faint blue light pulse like a heartbeat. Its tentacles spread in graceful arcs, each thread lined with tiny luminous points, like stars arranged by instinct. It moves not with muscle, but with water itself, folding and unfolding in rhythm with unseen tides. It is both fragile and infinite, a paradox wrapped in glass and glow. For a brief moment, it hovers before us, then turns away, its light dimming as it dissolves into darkness. The crew sits in silence, eyes fixed on the place where it vanished, as if unwilling to believe it had ever been real. The descent has ended, but the journey is far from over. The floor of the Mariana Trench stretches endlessly, an alien plane bathed in perpetual night. The instruments confirm it. We have reached Challenger Deep, nearly 11,000 meters beneath the surface. The lowest point on Earth, the deepest silence known to humankind. There is no sunlight here, no heat, no sound, and yet, in this impossible pressure, life endures. Every flicker of movement, every trace of energy, defies understanding. We turn off the floodlights for a moment. Total darkness envelops the submersible. The absence of light is absolute, so complete that even imagination struggles to fill it. The crew listens to the hum of the engines, the faint hiss of air through the vents, the steady beat of their own hearts. In this void, time dissolves. There is no up or down, no distance, no measure. Only presence. Only the humbling awareness that we are surrounded by an ocean older than mountains, deeper than fear, more eternal than memory. Then, faintly, a spark appears outside. A single point of blue light, so small it might be imagined. Then another, and another. Soon, the darkness blooms with living stars. Bioluminescent organisms rise from the sediment, drifting upward like constellations in reverse. Each pulse is slow, deliberate, almost mournful, a communication lost to human understanding. It feels as though the abyss itself is breathing, awakening to our presence. The lights move with rhythm, forming shifting patterns that pulse across the trench floor. It is a dance, ancient, wordless, endless. A reminder that even in the most silent places, life finds a way to speak. The pilot whispers, barely audible. It's beautiful. The words seem too small for what we witness. The crew watches in stillness, each lost in their own thoughts. Awe, insignificance, wonder, fear. Down here, where no sound from the surface can reach, humanity feels both microscopic and infinite. The abyss strips away everything unnecessary. Noise, ego, illusion, leaving only truth. We are visitors in a world that has never needed us, and yet, for a few fleeting hours, it allows us to see. The instruments hum again, signaling the beginning of ascent. The ballast is released. The submersible trembles as it adjusts its buoyancy. The return journey will take hours, rising slowly through layers of darkness back toward light. But something has changed. We are not the same as we were at the surface. We have seen the deep, and in it, we have glimpsed a kind of perfection, raw, alien, untouched. The abyss does not offer answers. It offers perspective. It reminds us that mystery is not meant to be solved, but experienced. As we rise, the faint lights below begin to fade. The trench floor disappears beneath us, swallowed once more by blackness. The glow of life dims, the silence deepens, and the ocean reclaims its secrecy. The submersible's lights pierce the dark ahead, tracing our slow path upward. But part of us remains behind, a fragment of awe suspended in that silent valley, among the drifting phantoms of the deep. And as the pressure eases, as the darkness slowly gives way to shades of blue that herald the upper layers of the sea, one truth remains. The descent was never just downward. It was inward, into the soul of the ocean, into the boundaries of fear and wonder, into the quiet truth of what it means to be human. For in that silent abyss, surrounded by gelatinous ghosts and the echoes of eternity, we discovered not the bottom of the sea, but the depth of our own smallness. The descent is complete. The ocean closes behind us, as if it had never opened at all. The surface awaits, bright and careless, but beneath it now lies something unforgettable, a world unseen, unreal, yet undeniably alive. There is a moment during ascent when darkness begins to breathe with color. It starts faintly, a subtle gradient creeping into the black, so delicate the eyes almost doubt it. It is the beginning of the twilight zone, the mesopelagic layer of the ocean, where light from the surface dies but does not vanish entirely. Here, day and night blur into a single endless dusk. Shadows dance with the faintest glimmers of blue, a dim shimmer that filters from miles above like distant starlight reaching through fog. This is the ocean's in-between world, not of light, not of dark, but of illusion. At these depths, life glows not because it must, but because it can. It invents its own light, soft, chemical fire born within fragile bodies. It flickers, pulses, and glides through the water like thought itself. Every glimmer you see is communication. Every flash, a signal. Every dance of light, a message in a language older than words. Some use it to attract, some to deceive, some simply to say I'm here. In the twilight zone, identity is written in luminescence. The ocean speaks through light, and only those who can glow are heard. Outside the viewport, the submersible glides through the half-light like a dream. The sea here feels alive in a different way. It shimmers, it hums, it watches. Tiny plankton drift in glittering clouds, each emitting its own microscopic spark. The movement of the submersible sends ripples through the swarm, triggering waves of blue fire that spread like galaxies across the dark. It is breathtaking, an explosion of stars that bloom and fade in silence. The water around us becomes a moving cosmos, and for a moment, it feels as though we are floating through space rather than sea. And then, as if drawn from the darkness by curiosity, the hunters appear. Lanternfish, sleek, silver, and impossibly numerous, glide in schools that stretch beyond sight. Their bodies flash rhythmically, the synchronized glow pulsing like a living constellation. Each blink of light has purpose, a lure for prey, a warning to rivals, a shield against predators below. They are the heartbeat of this layer, the invisible bridge between surface and abyss. Billions rise each night toward the shallower waters, feeding on plankton before descending again with the dawn. The largest migration on Earth, happening in silence every single day. Among them drifts a creature almost invisible, a siphonophore. It is not one animal but many, a colony of specialized beings fused into one living system. It stretches for meters, sometimes longer than a blue whale, its tendrils lined with luminescent beads that pulse like a string of stars. Each bead is a living cell, each pulse a signal in a complex, wordless symphony. It moves with eerie grace, drifting on unseen currents, its glowing filaments trailing behind like the veil of a celestial dancer. It hunts without haste, ensnaring small fish and crustaceans that wander too close. Its stillness is deceptive, a quiet predator that conquers through patience. The captain dims the submersible's lights, letting the natural glow of the zone envelop us. The view is surreal, as if the darkness itself were alive, breathing in colors no surface eye has seen. Creatures shimmer and vanish, trails of light curving like cursive through the water. A small comb jelly floats by, its body refracting the faintest rainbow as it spins. Each movement seems deliberate, almost musical, as if responding to a rhythm only they can hear. Even the water feels different, softer, thicker, charged with the static hum of countless living sparks. Somewhere ahead, a pulse of red light appears. Then another, then a dozen more, flickering in strange, irregular patterns. It's the lure of the stoplight loosejaw, a deep-sea predator that hunts with beams of invisible red light, wavelengths undetectable to most prey. Its head is skeletal, its jaw unhinged, its teeth fine as needles. It hovers in the dark, scanning the currents for movement, and when it strikes, it does so with precision. Swift, silent, absolute. Its prey never sees the danger, for to them, the light that exposes them simply doesn't exist. Here, evolution is both poet and assassin. Deeper still, the faint echo of sound rolls through the water. Not a human-made vibration, but something organic, alive. It is the voice of a whale passing far above, its low frequency traveling miles through the thick water. Even at this depth, where light has all but died, sound still reigns. It ripples through the liquid blackness, bouncing off unseen walls, vibrating through the hull. For a fleeting moment we feel connected, to life above, to the rhythm of an ocean that never sleeps. The deep and the surface, the seen and unseen, are bound by this constant pulse. As the submersible glides deeper into the twilight zone, the sense of scale begins to distort. There is no ground, no horizon, no up or down, only layers of light fading into infinite black. The creatures here navigate by instinct, by electric pulses, by the faint shimmer of bioluminescence reflected off a passing shadow. Every encounter feels both intimate and infinite. The closer we look, the more we realize that this world does not mimic the surface. It reinvents it. Every shape, every glow, every adaptation is a solution to a question we never knew to ask. Then, from the void, a flash, brilliant and sudden, like lightning underwater. It expands, rippling outward, illuminating hundreds of tiny bodies that scatter in panic. The source is a dragonfish, its narrow body lined with photophores that can ignite in bursts of violent blue. It uses its light as a weapon, to blind, to lure, to terrify. For a few seconds, the darkness burns with electric brilliance, then collapses back into stillness. The moment passes, but its ghost lingers, a faint afterimage on the retina, a reminder that in this world, light is both beauty and survival. The crew watches in silence. The atmosphere inside the submersible feels sacred, almost fragile. Every flicker outside the glass feels like revelation. It's as if the ocean itself were performing, not for us, but despite us, a living ballet choreographed by millions of years of adaptation. There is no chaos here, no randomness, only order we cannot yet perceive. In this twilight realm, boundaries blur between predator and prey, life and illusion, beauty and terror. The ocean hides its truth not in darkness, but in light that vanishes the moment it's born. And as we drift through this glowing haze, it becomes clear that the Twilight Zone is not a passage between worlds. It is a world, one that thrives in secrecy, shimmering on the knife edge between the known and the unknowable. As the submersible slows, hovering amidst drifting sparks, the narrator's voice softens to a whisper. We are surrounded by stars, but none of them belong to the sky. The ocean here hums with a pulse that cannot be heard, only felt. It seeps through the walls of the submersible, a slow rhythm that matches no clock, no heartbeat, no human time. The Twilight Zone is alive with an energy that is invisible yet overwhelming, a constant conversation of light and motion, hunger and survival. We drift through this liminal realm like ghosts in a cathedral made of water, surrounded by life forms that do not fear the dark, but have mastered it. Every shimmer outside the glass is a language, every glow a heartbeat in this submerged cosmos. As we move forward, the submersible's beams pick out the outline of a creature that seems sculpted from glass. Its long, serpentine body undulates through the water, ribs and organs visible like a delicate clockwork of light. It is a pelican eel, its oversized mouth gaping like a trapdoor, its tail tipped with a glowing lure. It drifts lazily, but its every movement is deliberate. The light at the tip of its tail flickers faintly, casting reflections that look almost playful. It is both eerie and elegant, a portrait of survival shaped by eternity. When the light of the submersible touches it, the eel turns gracefully, its mouth folding shut as it fades into the black, a living shadow retreating into its natural silence. Deeper still, the water grows denser, thicker, the boundary where twilight begins to surrender to the night. Yet this surrender is not death, it is transformation. The creatures here are architects of illusion, manipulating the last whispers of sunlight to vanish completely. One fish, small and slender, flashes silver when lit from above, but from below, its belly glows faint blue to blend with the faint light filtering down. To see it is to witness nature's perfect camouflage, invisibility made flesh. The ocean teaches invisibility not as escape, but as art. And then we see them, the jelly drifters. Dozens, maybe hundreds, their gelatinous forms suspended in slow, ethereal dance. They pulse gently, their bodies shimmering with veins of living light, their colors shifting from sapphire to violet to rose. Each one is a silent miracle, a sculpture of water and fire coexisting in perfect harmony. They move without haste, their motion hypnotic, their existence a kind of poetry. In the Twilight Zone, beauty is not decoration, it is adaptation. Every glow is a message, every pulse a story of survival and silence. The pilot dims the cabin lights again, and the world outside deepens into something dreamlike. A faint current stirs the drifting snow of particles, each reflecting the submersible's dim glow like dust caught in a sunbeam. The water is alive, yet impossibly still. Suddenly, from the darkness ahead, a trail of light curves upward, like the stroke of a glowing brush. Another follows, then another, until the space around us fills with streaks of living light. They spiral and weave around each other, threads of phosphorescent blue twisting into shapes that seem almost deliberate. It takes a moment to realize what we're seeing, a massive school of tiny crustaceans moving in coordinated patterns to confuse predators. The effect is mesmerizing, a living aurora beneath the waves. A voice in the cabin breaks the spell. The biologist on board whispers softly, almost reverently, "They're painting. The words linger in the air. For a moment, it does feel like we're watching an artist at work, nature composing brilliance from necessity. The glowing swarm moves with purpose, forming brief, fluid spirals before dispersing again into the infinite dark. No single creature commands the dance. Yet together, they create perfection. It is a reminder that even without thought or language, life finds rhythm, and rhythm, even in darkness, becomes art. We pass through the glowing cloud, and suddenly the world grows quiet again. The ocean absorbs the light like breath drawn into lungs. Ahead, the faint shape of something vast looms in the dark. At first, it looks like a cloud, then like a shadow. Then it begins to move. A giant squid. Its eyes are enormous, silver orbs reflecting the submersible's glow, each larger than a human head. The creature's tentacles drift around it like ribbons of smoke, pulsing slowly as it studies the strange intruder in its world. One tentacle stretches toward the light, curling, tasting the water. The pilot holds position, hands steady, breathing shallow. The squid's eye fixes on the submersible, vast, unblinking, ancient. It is the gaze of something that has never known fear, only patience. Then, with one slow turn, it releases a cloud of ink that blooms like a shadow within the dark, and it vanishes. The ink disperses not in blackness, but as a mirror, a shimmering veil that briefly reflects our own lights back at us. Then, nothing. Only the echo of movement, fading into the eternal quiet. In the wake of its disappearance, silence returns heavier than before. The crew sits wordless. The encounter feels less like discovery and more like communion. To witness such a creature in its element is to understand something fundamental, that life in the deep does not resist darkness, it belongs to it. It has evolved not to escape the void, but to embrace it completely. The ocean does not fear what it cannot see. It thrives in it. We rise slightly, entering a region where faint light filters again through the water, the upper edge of the twilight zone. The temperature rises a fraction of a degree, barely perceptible but enough to remind us that warmth still exists somewhere above. The plankton density increases, thickening into shimmering clouds that drift like fog. In their midst swim countless tiny fish, their scales glinting faintly, each carrying the faint echo of surface light. They rise every evening and descend every dawn, guided by the rhythm of the planet itself. We are witnessing the great vertical migration, an endless, global pulse that connects every ocean, every night. Billions of tiny bodies move together through the depths, an invisible tide that fuels the entire marine ecosystem. Their journey feeds the hunters that wait above and below, shapes the planet's carbon flow, and regulates the balance of life on Earth. And yet, from the surface, none of it is seen. The greatest movement on the planet happens in darkness, without sound, without recognition. The ocean does not need to be watched to be alive. We hover in the middle of it, surrounded by life that glows, drifts, and vanishes. The surface world feels like fiction now, too loud, too bright, too hurried to belong to this reality. Here, in the dim calm of eternal dusk, everything feels slower, deeper, truer. Every flash of light feels like a thought. Every shadow feels like memory. The twilight zone is not a passage to anywhere. It is a reminder that between every certainty lies mystery, and within every mystery, life. The narrator's voice softens, almost blending with the quiet hum of the ocean. We call it twilight because it lies between day and night, but perhaps it is not between at all. Perhaps it is where both meet, where endings and beginnings are the same thing. The deeper we drift, the slower time feels. The engines hum like a heartbeat lost in the distance, and the soft creak of the hull reminds us that above, an empire of water presses down, 1,000 atmospheres waiting to crush the air from anything unprepared. Yet, the creatures outside glide through this world as if gravity itself has forgotten them. Their movements are gentle, deliberate, effortless. They belong here. We are the intruders. The glow of our submersible falls across a curtain of transparent filaments stretching through the dark like strands of glass spun by an unseen hand. The filaments shift, retract, and then expand again, forming a net so large it fades into invisibility. It's a siphonophore, one of the strangest life forms on Earth. Not a single creature, but a colony. Thousands of tiny bodies fused together, each with its own purpose. Some feed, some float, some light the way. Together, they become one. It drifts silently, a cathedral of translucent tissue and living fire, longer than a blue whale yet lighter than air. When disturbed, it ripples, each section flashing in a sequence of blues and violets like a coded message sent into eternity. As we watch, a smaller jellyfish brushes against the siphonophore's web and is instantly ensnared. The filaments tighten, invisible tendrils wrapping around their prey. For a moment, the jelly pulses frantically, its light flickering in distress. Then, stillness. The siphonophore's glow returns to calm. Beauty, down here, is merciless. Life and death share the same rhythm, the same elegance. The ocean's deepest law is simple. You feed, or you become the feast. Our descent slows. The pilot switches off the forward lights. Darkness returns like a tide. For long minutes, we see nothing. Then, slowly, faint points of light begin to emerge from the void. Tiny pulsing dots that flicker and fade in waves, as though the sea itself is breathing. The farther we look, the more we see. Thousands of lights. Tens of thousands. A galaxy, alive and moving. This is no reflection of stars, no illusion. These are creatures, all of them glowing, all of them communicating in patterns our minds can barely process. Each flash is a signal, some to attract mates, others to confuse predators, some perhaps just to be seen. Bioluminescence is not just a defense, it is language. It is how life speaks when sound cannot travel. And as we hover in the center of this glowing oceanic symphony, the realization strikes. We are surrounded by intelligence. Not in the human sense, but in design, adaptation, harmony. The deep ocean is not silent. It is speaking in color, in rhythm, in light. Outside the glass, a shape glides past, large, smooth, graceful. It turns, and a ring of light spirals across its body like embers in motion. It is a vampire squid, a relic from an ancient lineage that predates the dinosaurs. Its skin shimmers between crimson and indigo as its filaments unfurl like the folds of a cloak. Despite its name, it does not hunt blood. It feeds on falling detritus, collecting the ocean's remains with silent grace. It drifts closer, curious, its eyes like twin sapphires reflecting the faint glow of our vessel. In that moment, it feels less like an animal and more like a thought, a memory of evolution itself, moving through time instead of space. The biologist whispers, "It's older than everything we know." And for a heartbeat, the silence feels holy. The squid hovers for a moment, then folds its arms like wings and disappears upward, swallowed by its own bioluminescent mist. The submersible continues its slow glide. Ahead, the ocean floor is still thousands of meters away, but the sense of space has vanished. The water has thickened into something almost physical, a darkness so complete it seems to press inward, testing the strength of steel and spirit alike. Outside, the marine snow continues to fall, endless, gentle, unbroken. Each flake of organic debris, a fragment of shell, a lost scale, a trace of carbon drifts downward, feeding the unseen. It is a snowfall that never melts, a quiet exchange between worlds. This slow rain fuels an entire ecosystem. The creatures of the Twilight Zone rely on it, catching the faint nutrition from above with outstretched tendrils or gaping mouths. Every fall of dust carries the memory of something once alive, the breath of a whale, the leaf of a kelp forest, the plankton that kissed sunlight long ago. Down here, even death has purpose. The deep recycles everything, turning loss into life, silence into song. As the descent continues, we begin to sense the boundary again, the point where twilight ends and true darkness begins. The last trace of filtered sunlight is gone now, replaced entirely by bioluminescence and machine light. The temperature drops. The pressure mounts. The walls of the sub groan softly under the weight of eternity. Yet there is no fear, only awe. To be here is to witness the planet's most secret truth, that beauty does not depend on light. It thrives without it. Outside, a final spectacle unfolds, a massive comb jelly, undulating slowly, its rows of cilia refracting our beams into ribbons of rainbow light. It moves like a dancer in zero gravity, each ripple sending waves of iridescence cascading across its glossy body. For a moment, the sub seems to hang inside a living prism. The jelly's colors bend and shimmer, painting the darkness with liquid fire. Then, as it drifts past, the light vanishes and the water swallows it whole. The narrator's voice fades into the quiet. We descended to find darkness, but instead, we found light that learned to live without a sun. A pause. Down here, life is not measured by what it sees, but by how it glows. The engines power down. The sub tilts slightly forward, ready to descend again, leaving behind the realm of dim beauty, plunging toward the greater void below. The last glimmers of the twilight zone fade like dying stars in the distance. Ahead lies the abyss, colder, darker, stranger still. And as we cross that invisible line, the narrator whispers, "Beyond this point, the world stops pretending to be ours. It becomes something else, something older, something purer. Welcome to the abyssal plain." The ocean floor appears like a revelation, vast, still, and infinite. It stretches beyond sight in every direction, a desert sculpted not of sand, but of silt and memory. The light from our submersible fades into a narrow cone, swallowed almost instantly by the blackness beyond. Down here, more than 4,000 meters beneath the surface, we have entered the true heart of the deep, the abyssal plain. The pressure is unimaginable. Every square inch of the hull outside is being crushed by tons of invisible weight, the same force that would pulverize a human body in an instant. Yet, life endures here, sculpted by time and necessity into shapes that defy imagination. There is no sound but the distant hum of machinery and the slow hiss of air inside the cabin. Outside, the silence is complete, a silence so absolute that even thought seems to echo. The seafloor drifts into view. It looks like snow, but it is not. It is a blanket of detritus, a slow accumulation of life that once belonged to the world above. Every grain of this pale dust was once part of something living, the plankton that danced in sunlight, the jelly that pulsed in twilight, the scales of fish, the shells of microscopic organisms. Layer upon layer, for millions of years, they have fallen through the water like forgotten prayers, settling into the vastness below. The seabed is a graveyard, but also a womb, for out of death, new life begins again. The lights sweep across strange shapes half buried in the silt. Some are angular, metallic, relics from our own world. The twisted frame of a research probe. The corroded skeleton of a steel drum. Fragments of a world that fell here long ago, swallowed by indifference. Yet, among them, movement stirs. A ghost crab, nearly transparent, scuttles across the wreckage, its legs glinting like glass. It stops, senses the disturbance, and disappears beneath the sediment in a silent puff. Even here, in the lifeless plain, something breathes. We move forward slowly, the sub's lights cutting a narrow path through eternity. Then, a flash. A shape darts across the beam, long and pale, like a ribbon of smoke given life. It twists and disappears, leaving behind only a swirl of disturbed sand. For a moment, there is nothing. Then, from the edge of the light, another appears, an amphipod, but colossal, the size of a human hand. Its translucent shell gleams faintly as it sifts through the sediment, feeding on what the ocean has left behind. Its movements are slow, efficient, ancient. These scavengers are the caretakers of the deep, the last recyclers of the world's remains. And yet, even here, life finds beauty. As we watch, tiny bioluminescent worms begin to emerge from the sediment, spiraling upward like glowing threads. They twist and coil, painting the darkness with faint trails of blue. Their light is not for show. It is a weapon, a lure, a shield. Some use it to draw in prey, others to confuse predators that hunt by shadow. To survive here, light is life's only language, and every flicker carries meaning. The narrator's voice enters softly. In the deep ocean, light is no longer a gift of the sun. It is a currency, earned, spent, and sometimes stolen. A few meters ahead, the submersible halts. The lights illuminate something extraordinary. A gelatinous mass, spherical, hovering just above the seabed. At first, it looks lifeless, a translucent orb drifting in the current. Then, a flicker from within, faint, pulsing, rhythmic. The sphere contracts and expands, glowing like a beating heart. It is a deep-sea jelly egg, possibly belonging to a rare species of giant jellyfish. Within it, a new life stirs, waiting for the right moment to emerge into the silent dark. For minutes, no one speaks. The entire crew watches, mesmerized. In this desolate wasteland of pressure and cold, the sight of something unborn feels impossible, almost sacred. It is as if we are witnessing the deep ocean dream of itself, creating beauty from nothing, hope from the abyss. The pilot whispers, "Even here, life refuses to stop." We continue forward, deeper into the plain. The seabed undulates in slow waves, like the surface of an alien moon. Occasionally, a fissure cuts through the silt, revealing darker layers below, ancient sediments that have not been disturbed for millions of years. Tiny shrimp dart in and out of these cracks, their bodies flickering like sparks. A starfish the size of a plate lies motionless nearby, its limbs twisted around the remains of some unrecognizable carcass. Time here does not flow. It accumulates. Every movement feels deliberate, heavy with patience. The camera outside the sub pans slowly across the landscape. Nothing moves for a long stretch. Just the endless expanse of gray silt, broken only by the occasional ripple left by unseen currents. Then something subtle catches the light, a shape that shouldn't be there. It's faint, almost imperceptible at first, a circular mound slightly raised from the seafloor. As we approach, its form becomes clearer. It is a ring, nearly perfect, made of small stones carefully arranged in a spiral pattern. There is no current strong enough to form such order, no geological process that shapes patterns like this. The realization settles in slowly. Something made it. Something down here, in this desolate, lightless desert, has been arranging its world. Scientists once found similar circles sculpted by deep-sea fish, the mysterious pufferfish architects that carved intricate nests for mating rituals in the sand. But this is deeper, older, stranger. The spiral glows faintly under our lights, each pebble coated with a film of bioluminescent bacteria, shimmering like a constellation scattered across the ocean floor. The narrator whispers, "Even in the silence of the abyss, life creates art." It is a humbling truth that evolution, blind and endless, still finds room for beauty even where no eye may ever see it. The sub lingers, hovering above the glowing spiral, cameras recording. Outside, a current stirs, sending small clouds of sediment drifting upward like smoke. As it clears, the spiral fades into shadow once more, swallowed by the sea's patience. The descent continues. In the far distance, the faint outline of something massive appears, a ridge, or perhaps a trench wall, rising from the plain like the edge of a forgotten world. The navigator confirms it on sonar, a ridge nearly 1,000 meters high, marking the threshold of the Hadal Zone. The pilot adjusts course, the lights sweeping upward as we approach the next frontier. Behind us, the abyssal plain stretches endlessly, silent, unmoving, eternal. Ahead lies the unknown once more. The narrator's voice deepens, resonant and reverent. We have walked across the bottom of the world, but the ocean still has further to fall. And with that, the sub begins its slow ascent, not toward the surface, but toward the deeper void below. The abyss calls again. The ridge rises before us like a mountain made of shadow. Its edges dissolve into the black, its surface dusted with centuries of settling life. We approach it slowly, our light sweeping across jagged slopes that shimmer faintly with the movement of microorganisms, colonies of bacteria, feeding on minerals, creating a faint, ghostly glow. The submersible glides closer, careful, reverent. The seafloor here is alive with texture, mounds, scars, vents, and trenches that twist like veins across a body that never sleeps. As we draw near the base of the ridge, the sonar pulses echo faintly against the terrain. Each return signal sounds delayed, heavy, almost sluggish, the sound of immense depth. The pilot steadies the craft, and the light settles on a cluster of strange stalk-like structures sprouting from the sediment. They sway gently in the current, translucent and fragile, each topped with a bulb that pulses faintly with light. At first, they look like plants, but the ocean has no plants here, no sunlight, no chlorophyll. These are glass sponges, ancient organisms that have existed unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Their skeletons are made not of bone or chitin, but of silica, the same substance as glass. Some grow in delicate spirals, others like lattice towers, each more intricate than anything nature above the surface could build. As our lights touch them, the glassy structures refracted into a kaleidoscope of colors: emerald, sapphire, amber, scattering through the dark like stained glass in a cathedral built by evolution itself. Within their hollow tubes, tiny shrimp live their entire lives, trapped inside from birth to death, sustained by the constant drift of microscopic food. They are born in silence, live unseen, and die entombed in the same glass they call home. The narrator's voice enters, quiet and awed. Down here, beauty is not fleeting. It endures. Every structure, every shimmer of life is designed for permanence, a slow architecture of survival. We ascend along the ridge, and soon the sponges give way to rocky ledges. The light catches movement, something curling, gliding, then stopping. A sea cucumber, long and pale, like a drifting piece of silk. Its body ripples in rhythmic waves as it moves, vacuuming the seafloor for sustenance. Behind it trails a faint mark, the only evidence of its passing. It looks fragile, but in truth, these creatures endure pressures that would destroy steel. They are proof that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it simply persists. The current strengthens slightly as we round the ridge, stirring the sediment into soft clouds that dance in the beams. From within this haze, a sudden flash, quick, deliberate, controlled. Another, then another. The sub's lights reveal a cluster of deep-sea anglerfish, each with a luminous lure dangling before its monstrous jaws. Their bodies are small, barely larger than a human fist, but their faces are grotesque. Wide mouths, needle teeth, eyes like dull pearls. They drift motionless, waiting. Then one moves. Its lure brightens, flickering in rhythmic pulses. From the darkness, a smaller creature swims toward it, drawn by the hypnotic glow. In an instant, the anglerfish snaps forward, the light vanishing as its mouth closes. The ocean returns to stillness. Predation here is an art of patience. There is no chase, no noise, no waste. In the abyss, everything must earn its existence with stillness. Every meal is a miracle. A few meters ahead, the sub's floodlights catch something extraordinary. A black smoker vent, one of the rare geothermal openings in this part of the plain. It rises like a chimney, exhaling a constant plume of mineral-rich water into the freezing dark. The temperature near its mouth exceeds hundreds of degrees Celsius, yet life thrives all around it. Tube worms with blood-red plumes cluster near the vent's base, feeding not on sunlight, but on the chemical energy released from within the earth itself. White crabs scuttle among them, their shells coated in sulfur. Nearby, mats of bacteria shimmer faintly, forming an ecosystem born entirely from fire in a world of ice. The camera zooms closer. The vent's plume curls upward, creating an ethereal vortex of smoke that fades into black. The light of the sub makes it glow faintly silver, and through it, the worms sway like forest trees in wind that no surface world could feel. This is the second Genesis, life born not from the sun, but from the planet's molten heart. The narrator speaks again, voice low and deliberate. Before there was light, there was heat. Before the sun, there was fire. Perhaps in this quiet breath from the Earth's core, we are seeing the origin of all life repeating itself, unseen, eternal. We drift higher along the ridge, the glow of the vent fading behind us. Ahead, the terrain levels out into another vast plain, but this one is unlike the desert we crossed before. It is dotted with shapes, rounded and clustered, like stones on a riverbed. As the sub approaches, we realize they are not stones at all, but the shells of long-dead creatures, foraminifera, microscopic beings whose calcium skeletons have built layers upon layers of sediment over countless millennia. Each shell is smaller than a grain of sand, yet together, they have created the foundation of continents. The deep ocean, silent and patient, is a builder of worlds. A sudden thud shakes the hull, soft but distinct. The crew turns their heads, startled. Outside, something large is brushed against the sub. The cameras swivel, searching the dark. For a moment, nothing. Then, from below, a form rises, vast, slow, deliberate. It moves like a drifting cloud, yet its mass is unmistakable. It's a deep-sea jelly, easily 10 meters across, its bell translucent and rimmed with faint blue fire. It pulses upward, its tendrils trailing like rivers of smoke. For several seconds, it hovers beside us, its movement impossibly graceful for its size. Within its bell, shadowy shapes drift, tiny fish seeking refuge, their silhouettes flickering in the light like dreams caught inside glass. The narrator murmurs, "Even the giants of the abyss carry others within them." Down here, nothing exists alone. The jelly pulses once more, and with that motion, it begins to drift away, swallowed by the infinite dark. We follow it with our eyes until it becomes nothing more than a faint ghostly glow, fading into distance. The silence that follows feels heavier than before, as if the ocean has paused, waiting for us to move again. The pilot increases the thrusters slightly, pushing forward. The lights sweep across the seafloor, revealing another vast stretch of emptiness ahead. This, the scientists say, is the true abyss, a place where life exists only because it refuses to surrender. As we move through the quiet, the narrator's voice returns, calm and contemplative. The abyssal plain is not barren. It is faithful to time, to patience, to endurance. Here, where pressure crushes steel and darkness devours light, life continues, silent, unbroken, eternal. The hum of the engines deepens as the sub continues its course. In the far distance, the sonar begins to register something immense, a trench. Deeper still, leading into the final layer of the ocean's soul, the Hadal realm awaits. And as the last lights of the abyss fade behind us, the narrator whispers, "We have seen the quiet plains where the world sleeps." But beyond this ridge, even the sea begins to dream. The submersible drifts toward the edge of the plain, where the terrain begins to collapse into shadow. The sonar's soft pulses quicken, each return weaker, deeper, as though the signal is being swallowed by something that refuses to echo. Before us lies the descent into the next trench, a wound in the seafloor so vast it seems to have no end. The pilot dims the external lights, allowing our eyes to adjust to the faint natural glow of the deep. The darkness here feels different, denser, almost physical, like velvet pressing against the glass. Below, faint glimmers begin to appear, specks of blue and green, like stars beneath the earth. Bioluminescent plankton drift in lazy spirals, stirred by invisible currents. As the sub's hull moves through them, their lights bloom and fade in waves, as if the ocean itself is breathing. The effect is hypnotic. For a moment, it feels as though we are no longer descending through water, but through space, a slow fall through an alien night. The narrator speaks softly. Above, the sky holds its galaxies. But here, beneath the waves, there is another universe, one made not of fire, but of light born in darkness. The pressure outside grows with each meter. Metal creaks faintly, a sound like bones settling. We are nearly 8,000 meters deep now. Every bolt, every seal, every piece of glass has been engineered to withstand a force equal to the weight of 50 jumbo jets pressing on the subsurface. And yet, the interior remains still, cocooned in artificial light and the steady rhythm of the oxygen pumps. The fragility of our presence feels almost absurd, a flicker of existence surrounded by the weight of eternity. The terrain below grows rougher. The sediment gives way to jagged rock, scarred and split by tectonic shifts that span millennia. The seafloor looks torn, as though something ancient and enormous once clawed its way through the crust. The pilot steadies the craft, keeping distance from the cliff walls that loom like the ruins of a drowned mountain range. Suddenly, movement. From a crevice in the rock, something darts, long, sinuous, fast. The cameras catch it for only a second, a serpentine body with translucent fins and eyes that reflect our lights like mirrors. It vanishes just as quickly into the dark, a cusk eel, perhaps, or something we have never named. In the abyss, taxonomy feels futile. Each encounter is fleeting, each discovery unknowable. We descend further. The temperature here hovers near freezing, yet thin plumes of warmer water rise from fissures below, invisible heat seeping from the Earth's mantle. Tiny organisms cluster near them, forming delicate filaments of life. The sub's external camera zooms in, revealing colonies of white bacteria forming intricate spiral patterns along the cracks. They glimmer faintly, as though illuminated from within. The narrator's tone becomes reflective. Even in the planet's deepest wounds, life gathers. It does not ask for mercy, nor seek comfort. It simply endures. The abyss is not a graveyard. It is a sanctuary for persistence. The descent slows. We are nearing the trench's midpoint, a depth so extreme that light, temperature, and even sound behave differently. The pressure distorts the speed of echoes. The hum of the thrusters sounds lower, more distant, as though time itself is stretching. Then, through the gloom, we see it, a vast pale field, gently undulating. At first, it looks like sand dunes, sculpted by unseen currents. But as we draw closer, realization dawns. It is a graveyard. Thousands of bones scattered across the seafloor, the remains of whales, fish, and creatures unknown. Each rib and vertebra is encrusted with life. Tube worms, snails, and ghostly crabs feed on the last vestiges of organic matter, turning death into sustenance. The camera focuses on a massive skull, the remains of a whale that must have sunk here decades ago. Its hollow eye sockets stare upward, unblinking, as if searching for the surface it will never see again. The bones are covered in a film of soft white bacteria known as ozaidax, or bone-eating worms. They dissolve the marrow, releasing nutrients into the water that feed everything around them. The narrator's voice drops to a whisper. In the abyss, even death serves life. Nothing is lost. Not a cell, not a breath, not a single fragment of being. We linger there for a while, watching the slow ballet of scavengers. A crab drifts past, pale as ivory, carrying the remnants of another creature's shell on its back. Nearby, an eel slithers through the ribs of the whale, its movement fluid, almost reverent. Every motion is measured, efficient. There is no waste here. Only balance. The pilot marks the coordinates, then gently adjusts the thrusters. The sub begins to move along the edge of the graveyard, following a faint trench carved into the sediment. The sonar returns grow erratic, indicating structures ahead. The lights sweep across the darkness, and what they reveal silences the cabin. Columns, dozens of them, rising from the seafloor like ancient pillars, coated in sediment and coral. Some are broken, others tilted, half buried in silt. At first glance, they appear artificial, as though the ruins of some forgotten civilization lie hidden here. But upon closer inspection, we see that they are natural formations, basalt pillars, born from volcanic eruptions millions of years ago when molten rock met the crushing cold of the deep. Their symmetry is haunting, almost deliberate. The narrator continues. Nature builds with precision. Even in chaos, it shapes with purpose. These pillars, carved by fire and silence, stand as monuments to the planet's restless heart. The sub's lights glide along the forest of stone, revealing patterns etched by time, ridges, spirals, faint grooves carved by microscopic currents. Between the pillars, strange organisms cling to the rock, soft coral that glows with a gentle lavender hue, and small crustaceans that scatter when the light touches them. A faint vibration shudders through the hall. The instruments spike. Somewhere deep below, the earth groans, a tectonic shift, slow but immense. The sound reverberates through the water, low and primal, like the exhale of something ancient. The crew says nothing. For a few seconds, it feels as though the entire ocean is alive and breathing around us. When the tremor subsides, we continue. The trench widens into another vast plain, darker than any we've seen before. Here, there are no vents, no bones, no colonies of light. Just the endless black, broken only by the faint reflection of our own lights. It is absolute emptiness. The instruments record nothing. No movement, no sound, no sign of life. And yet, as we stare into the void, a shape begins to form. A faint ripple in the water. The pilot steadies the sub. Another ripple, closer this time. Then, from the dark, a single pale form emerges. A creature longer than a bus, with wings like silk. It glides silently above the plain, each motion fluid, effortless. Its eyes are large, reflective, alien. A giant ghost manta, rarely seen, drifting through the eternal night. It moves past us slowly, unbothered by our presence, as though aware but uninterested. For a brief moment, our lights reflect across its wings, casting soft arcs of silver across the abyss. Then it turns, vanishing into the dark with a single graceful sweep. The narrator's voice returns, hushed and solemn. In the deep, beauty is not a thing to be witnessed. It is a presence that passes through you, quiet, fleeting, unforgettable. As the creature disappears, the silence deepens again. We float there, surrounded by a darkness so complete it feels infinite. Ahead, the sonar shows a deeper drop, a vertical wall descending beyond measurable limits. The next descent will take us into the Hadal Trenches, the deepest realms known to existence. The pilot reduces thrust, letting the sub hover at the edge. The narrator whispers one final line before the fade to black. We have walked the plains of the abyss, where time itself sleeps. But beyond this horizon lies the final descent into the place where light was never meant to be. The abyss stretches endlessly ahead, a void so complete it feels as though the universe itself has paused to listen. Our submersible hovers at the edge of the plane, lights illuminating only a narrow tunnel of existence in the ocean's eternal darkness. Below, the sediment tilts subtly, hinting at a descent yet deeper, a place where pressure and cold become allies of silence. The Hadal realm awaits, a domain so extreme that few humans have ever glimpsed it, and even fewer have understood its alien rhythm. The pilot eases the craft forward, the engines whispering against the weight of water. Outside, the abyss is alive in imperceptible ways. Tiny bioluminescent dots flicker far below, forming slow, deliberate patterns like the pulse of distant stars. They are living signposts in a world where vision is nearly impossible, communicating silently across meters of crushing water. Each flicker seems to ask, "Who dares intrude upon our domain?" The ocean answers in currents and quiet, the sub drifting silently along this bottomless highway of black. The landscape begins to change. Where the abyssal plain was flat and desolate, the terrain now folds into ridges, narrow valleys, and steep walls. The rocks glisten faintly with mineral deposits, shaped by tectonic fury over millions of years. Vents scatter across the slopes, plumes of warmer water rising like smoke from the bowels of the earth. Near each vent, strange communities cling to life. Tube worms unfurling delicate plumes, crustaceans scuttling across the rocks, and ghostly shrimp feeding on the chemical flow. This is the final frontier of adaptation, life that thrives where light never reaches, sustained by energy that originates not from the sun, but from the planet itself. The sub slows again, hovering over a fissure wider than a city street. From its depths rises a faint glow, a subtle flicker that intensifies as we approach. It is not fire, not lava, but bioluminescent life so vast it appears to form a constellation in water. Giant jellyfish drift lazily along the fissure's edges, their translucent bells undulating with hypnotic rhythm. Some are meters across, carrying other creatures within their folds. Tiny fish or crustaceans seeking shelter, coexisting in delicate, fleeting balance. Their movement is slow but purposeful, a ballet orchestrated in absolute silence. Suddenly, a shadow crosses the light, long, sinuous, and immense. It glides effortlessly along the ridge, its wingspan casting ghostly reflections across the sub's windows. A giant deep-sea squid, rare and elusive, moves without haste, its tentacles trailing like rivers of smoke. Its eyes, enormous and reflective, seem to peer into the soul of the sub, measuring the intruders with patient intelligence. For a heartbeat, time seems suspended. The ocean itself holds its breath. Then, without warning, the creature vanishes into the darkness, leaving only a ripple in the water and a lingering sense of awe. The narrator's voice drifts through the cabin, soft, reverent, almost trembling. In the deepest trenches, life does not seek attention. It exists quietly, perfectly, as though the world above were nothing more than a story told from afar. The sub descends further, the walls closing in, the plain giving way to a canyon carved by millennia. The sediment here is finer, almost silky, disturbed only by subtle currents that twist along the cliffs. From within the darkness, faint, erratic flashes appear, glowing lures of predators, signaling, hunting, surviving. One by one, they emerge. Anglerfish with grotesque jaws, small pale fish whose bodies refract the sub's lights into shimmering rainbows, and translucent creatures whose forms defy classification. Each is a masterpiece of evolution, perfected for an existence that would crush any surface dweller in an instant. Amid the shadows, a delicate ballet unfolds. Tiny crustaceans drift near the rocky walls, pulsing with light to confuse predators. They vanish when approached, only to reappear moments later, spinning in arcs of blue and green. It is mesmerizing, hypnotic, a language of survival written in luminescence, a silent conversation that stretches across the abyss. The sub floats among it, an intruder witnessing a world that has endured in perfect, quiet order for eons. The trench deepens. Sonar readings indicate pressure that would make steel yield, yet the sub holds firm. Below, the sediment disappears into blackness so dense it seems absolute. For a long stretch, nothing is visible, nothing stirs. And then, from the void, a glow begins, soft, pulsating, growing gradually into a field of scattered lights. Hundreds, then thousands, forming a river of bioluminescent creatures flowing along the canyon floor. Each pulse moves independently, yet together they form a coherent stream, like a luminous river running through the ocean's heart. It is a migration unlike anything seen above. Tiny shrimp, fish, and other invertebrates drift together, pulled by currents and instinct. The sub glides alongside the flow, the cameras recording every flicker, every pulse. Some of the lights flash rapidly, signaling danger, while others move slowly, almost meditatively. The spectacle is hypnotic, almost spiritual, a testament to life's refusal to yield, even here, where existence itself is an act of defiance. The narrator's voice returns, slow and melodic. To survive in darkness, life must be patient. To endure the crushing weight of the abyss, it must be resilient. And in this place, where no human eye has lingered, life has perfected both. As we drift further, the canyon walls close in sharply. The water grows denser, the darkness thicker. Pressure instruments climb steadily, and temperature drops near freezing. Yet life persists. From the blackness, enormous shapes begin to emerge. Colossal worms and jellyfish, some longer than the sub itself. They glide slowly, weightless, their bodies refracting light in faint, ethereal hues. Tiny creatures ride on their surfaces, living symbiotically, hidden from view until illuminated. It is a world of coexistence, fragile yet eternal, where even the smallest organism plays a role in sustaining the ecosystem. The sub hovers silently, observing. Every movement, every flicker of light, every pulse of water is a revelation. In the deepest trenches, life does not rush. It does not compete recklessly. It endures, quietly and perfectly, in the eternal darkness. Here, evolution has sculpted forms that seem impossible, yet every design is flawless for the abyssal world. And as we prepare to descend even further into the Hegel realm, the narrator whispers with quiet awe. The deepest oceans are not empty. They are full of life that thrives where we dare not tread, full of beauty that exists beyond the reach of sun, full of mystery that will remain long after we are gone. The sub glides forward into the growing darkness, toward the unknown depths of the trench. Beyond the lights, beyond the pressure, beyond human comprehension, lies the final frontier, the Hegel realm, where the ocean truly begins to dream. The Hegel realm begins where the abyssal plane ends, a realm so deep that light has never touched it, where pressure crushes mountains and silence becomes a tangible presence. As the submersible crosses the threshold, the darkness grows heavier, almost liquid in its weight. Outside, the water is blacker than any night we have known, a void that stretches beyond comprehension. Here, life exists on the edge of possibility, adapted to conditions that would annihilate surface creatures in moments. The walls of the trench rise like the cliffs of an alien canyon, sheer and unyielding. Minerals gleam faintly under the sub's lights, casting ghostly reflections across the water. Columns of sediment drift downward, moving in slow spirals like underwater tornadoes frozen in time. From these cliffs emerge strange shapes, giant worms with translucent bodies, moving rhythmically, tiny fish with enormous eyes, adapted to the faintest flickers of light, and invertebrates so fragile they resemble living glass. Each organism seems impossibly delicate, yet perfectly engineered to endure the crushing darkness and pressure. The narrator's voice cuts through the quiet, low, and reverent. The Hadal Zone is a world without compromise. Every life form here is a testament to endurance, a monument to adaptation, a whisper of evolution's patience. Above, we measure survival in hours or years. Here, life counts by centuries. As the sub glides along the canyon floor, the first bioluminescent signals appear. Tiny lights flicker in the distance, each pulse deliberate, like messages sent across fathoms of water. They form clusters, then rivers of light, guiding predators and prey alike. Among them, small crustaceans drift like lanterns in the dark, using their glow to confuse hunters or attract mates. A few larger creatures glide past, deep-sea fish with lures dangling before monstrous mouths, squid with translucent wings that ripple like silk, and jellyfish the size of small cars, pulsing with ghostly blue light. Pressure outside climbs steadily, reaching over 1,000 atmospheres. The sub's hull hums under the strain, every panel, every bolt, every seal tested to its limit. Inside, the crew remains silent, mesmerized by the alien world unfolding before them. The Hadal realm is not chaotic. It is precise, ordered, a slow choreography of survival that unfolds far beyond human perception. Every flicker, every pulse, every movement serves a purpose. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. The sub descends further into a narrow canyon. The walls are covered in mineral deposits, rough and jagged, forming spires that rise like towers of stone. Tiny organisms cling to them, forming colonies that glow faintly, providing light in a world without sun. The canyon floor itself is littered with remnants of life, whale bones from creatures that sank from the surface, the shells of long-dead crustaceans, fragments of detritus slowly being recycled into new life. Among these relics, scavengers drift silently. Crabs, shrimps, and ghostly eels, all perfectly adapted to extract sustenance from the faintest trace of organic material. A shadow passes across the sub's lights, long, sinuous, immense. A giant squid drifts slowly, its tentacles trailing like ribbons of smoke. Its massive eyes reflect the sub's glow, intelligent and unblinking. For a brief moment, time feels suspended. The squid moves alongside the sub, curious but cautious, a phantom of the deep. Then it turns, disappearing into the darkness, leaving only faint ripples and a lingering sense of awe. The narrator's voice softens, almost a whisper. In these depths, even the giants move with patience. There is no rush, no struggle beyond necessity. Life here is measured not in days or decades, but in the slow pulse of existence itself. Further down, the sub's lights reveal a field of giant tube worms clustered around a hydrothermal seep. These creatures thrive not on sunlight, but on chemical energy expelled from the Earth's crust. Their plumes ripple gently in the currents, casting ghostly shadows across the rocky terrain. Small crustaceans scuttle among them, harvesting nutrients, while tiny fish hover near the plumes, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. It is an ecosystem entirely independent of the surface world, a testament to the adaptability of life. The floor of the trench begins to slope downward sharply. Sonar readings spike, indicating a drop beyond the sub-sensors, a vertical descent into the deepest known parts of the ocean. The pilot steadies the craft, moving cautiously along the edge. Outside, faint glimmers appear in the distance. Unknown creatures moving slowly, their bioluminescence painting the darkness with ghostly hues. Some are elongated, others bell-shaped, and a few resemble drifting clouds of light, their forms impossible to categorize. The narrator continues, contemplative. To witness life here is to confront the unimaginable. A world without light, without warmth, without comfort. Yet, it is a world full of marvels. Creatures that defy our understanding, thriving where we could not survive for a second. The Hadal realm is proof that life, once begun, refuses to be denied. The sub drifts into a narrow channel, walls closing in on both sides. Tiny sediment clouds swirl in the current, disturbed only by the movement of unseen organisms. A faint flicker ahead catches our attention. A massive bioluminescent jelly, its bell pulsating slowly, illuminating a small grove of tube worms beneath it. Smaller fish hover around it, seeking protection in its flowing tentacles. Its sheer size and grace make it seem otherworldly, a guardian of this hidden kingdom. The sub slows, allowing the creature to pass. Its light fades gradually into the surrounding darkness, leaving only the faint glow of the tube worms. The trench continues downward, a never-ending descent into blackness. Every meter brings more pressure, colder water, and a deeper sense of isolation. And yet, life persists, elegant and enduring. The narrator concludes, voice low and solemn. The Hadal realm is not a place for the faint of heart. It is a cathedral of survival, a temple built in silence and darkness. To explore it is to witness the resilience of life in its purest, most unyielding form. Here, at the bottom of the world, we learn that existence is never surrendered, never abandoned, and never silent. The sub continues its slow descent, moving further into the unknown. Ahead lies darkness deeper than we can imagine, the very limits of human exploration, where the mysteries of the ocean are preserved in their most ancient, untouchable form. The submersible drifts deeper into the Hadal realm, entering a corridor of black so complete that the lights seem to bend and fade before reaching the canyon walls. The water itself feels heavier, more viscous, as though the abyss is aware of our presence. Outside, the trench walls are jagged and fractured, carved by tectonic forces over millions of years. Layers of sediment cling to the rocks, interrupted by veins of minerals glowing faintly with bioluminescent bacteria. Life clings here not in abundance, but in exquisite, fragile forms, each a survivor against impossible odds. The first signs of life appear as tiny flickers, blue, green, white, scattered across the darkness. Small amphipods drift lazily, their translucent bodies glowing with a soft inner light. They move in synchrony with one another, forming drifting constellations that shift and pulse like slow, living stars. Every flicker has purpose: to attract a mate, to confuse predators, or simply to signal presence. Here, in this ultimate darkness, communication is not sound but light, a secret language written in the fabric of the abyss. The narrator speaks softly, reverent, drawing the viewer into the hidden world. In the Hadal depths, light itself is sacred. Every pulse is a message, every shimmer a testament. Here, life does not call for attention. It whispers, and in its whispers, the universe listens. The sub glides forward, approaching a steep wall of rock that rises from the canyon floor like the side of a submerged cliff. Tiny organisms cling to its surface, delicate, translucent sponges and small anemones that shimmer faintly under the sub's illumination. The wall itself is scarred by ancient eruptions and tectonic shifts, its crevices hiding entire microcosms of life. Crabs and shrimps weave between the cracks, carrying with them remnants of organic matter collected from miles above. The canyon walls are alive with subtle motion, a slow dance of survival that defies the darkness. A sudden flicker catches the eye, larger, faster, and deliberate. The sub's lights reveal a ghostly, elongated form, a deep-sea squid, its tentacles flowing like ribbons of silk. Its massive eyes reflect the glow from the sub's lights, intelligent and alert. It pauses, hovering in the water, allowing us a glimpse of its alien grace. Slowly, it curves upward, vanishing into the black without a sound. Its passage leaves only a ripple in the water, a reminder of the scale and silence of this extreme world. As the sub descends further, the trench floor slopes sharply downward. Sediment clouds swirl in faint currents, disturbed only by creatures moving unseen. From the darkness below, faint bioluminescent flashes grow in intensity. Hundreds of tiny lights emerge, forming a drifting swarm of organisms, jellyfish, crustaceans, and other invertebrates. They pulse with rhythm, a slow, hypnotic cadence that fills the darkness with life. The sub drifts alongside, recording every movement, every flicker. It is a migration unlike any seen above, a river of light flowing through a void of silence. Pressure readings climb steadily, the hull of the sub responding with faint, almost musical creaks. Each meter deeper stretches the limits of the craft and the human imagination. And yet, even here, life persists. In the sediment, tiny bone-eating worms cling to fragments of whale remains, digesting marrow and releasing nutrients into the water. Above, the translucent bodies of jellyfish drift, carrying other organisms in their folds. It is a world where every act of life is deliberate, every pulse a victory against impossibility. The narrator's voice returns, soft and contemplative. To endure in the Hadal Zone is to be patient, to move slowly, to respect the weight of silence. Here, nothing hurries, nothing wastes, and yet everything survives. Life here is eternal in its precision. Suddenly, the sub illuminates a massive structure rising from the canyon floor, a hydrothermal seep, smaller than the vents of the abyssal plain but no less miraculous. Its plumes of warmer water rise in ghostly spirals, carrying dissolved minerals that feed entire colonies of tube worms and bacteria. The worms unfurl their red plumes into the current, capturing energy not from light, but from the chemical richness of the Earth's core. Around the base, crabs and shrimps feed quietly, each performing a role in the delicate ecosystem. A slow current sweeps through the trench, stirring clouds of sediment that reveal more life forms. Small, ghostly fish with reflective eyes, gelatinous predators with undulating bodies, and even enormous jellyfish, their bells pulsing rhythmically as they drift with perfect control. Some of these creatures stretch nearly the length of the sub itself, moving with elegance that seems impossible in such crushing pressure. Yet here, in the ultimate dark, gravity and light are irrelevant. Motion is measured, survival is patient, and life is profound. The narrator pauses, allowing the moment to breathe. The Hadal realm is a cathedral without walls. It is a sanctuary where survival has been perfected over millions of years. Here, the smallest flicker of life is as monumental as a sun, and every movement carries the weight of existence itself. The sub continues to glide, following the narrow canyon deeper. The sonar registers a series of vertical walls ahead, descending into regions where pressure will surpass anything humans have experienced. The lights illuminate strange, fragile formations, mineralized towers, glass sponges, and coral-like structures that shimmer faintly. Each seems almost impossibly delicate, yet each endures in a world designed to crush. And in this profound silence, the sub witnesses the faintest, most haunting movement. A giant ghostly manta, its wings spanning meters, gliding above the canyon floor with ethereal grace. Its body is translucent, illuminated only by faint bioluminescent patches along its fins. It drifts slowly past, almost indifferent to the submersible, a specter of the abyss, a reminder that even in total darkness, beauty persists. The narrator's final words linger, a soft echo in the cabin. To witness life in the Hadal depths is to confront the unimaginable. Here, existence is refined, patience is eternal, and even in the crushing silence, life whispers its persistence. The ocean's deepest realm is not barren. It is alive, luminous, and timeless. The sub begins its slow descent toward the very bottom of the trench. Ahead, darkness deepens into a void so complete it challenges perception. The Hadal realm stretches endlessly, a world unbroken, untamed, and eternal. Beyond the reach of light, beyond the limits of pressure, the ocean continues its secret life, waiting for those who dare to follow. The descent into the Hadal realm becomes almost surreal, as if the submersible is entering a world governed by entirely different rules. The darkness thickens, folding around the hull like a living curtain. Every pulse of light from the sub becomes a revelation, illuminating shapes and motions that defy imagination. Here, sound is nearly non-existent. Even the sub's own hum feels muffled, swallowed by the density of the water and the immensity of the trench. The silence is so absolute that it becomes tangible, pressing against the mind, shaping perception. The canyon walls stretch upward like cliffs of obsidian, jagged and irregular, formed by tectonic upheaval millions of years ago. Their surfaces are coated with mineral deposits that shimmer faintly under the sub's lights. In their cracks and crevices, life clings tenaciously. Delicate sponges, small anemones, and clusters of tube-worms, their plumes pulsing faintly in the current. Tiny crustaceans scuttle between them, harvesting organic matter, each movement deliberate and precise. Here, every organism exists as a careful compromise between fragility and endurance, perfectly adapted to the immense pressures and absolute darkness. A flicker of bioluminescence appears below, growing into a subtle current of light. Dozens, then hundreds of organisms drift lazily, forming a river of luminescent life flowing along the trench floor. Tiny shrimp and invertebrates pulse with color, creating the illusion of stars adrift in a black void. Some of the larger jellyfish glide through this luminous stream, their bells pulsating in rhythm, casting pale shadows over the canyon floor. The movement is hypnotic, a living dance choreographed by the imperatives of survival, energy, and instinct. The narrator's voice cuts through the quiet, low, and resonant. In the hadal depths, movement is measured. Every pulse, every flicker, every drift carries purpose. Life here is not hurried. It is refined, precise, eternal in its patience. As we descend further, the trench narrows. The canyon walls rise higher and closer, coated with delicate colonies of bacteria and bioluminescent organisms. Small, ghostly fish move along the edges, their bodies almost transparent, their large eyes reflecting the sub's light. Between them, massive jellyfish drift silently, their tendrils trailing like ribbons, carrying tiny symbiotic creatures. Every interaction is subtle, elegant, purposeful, a testament to adaptation in an environment that tests every limit. The sub moves closer to a hydrothermal seep, where warm, mineral-rich water escapes from the Earth's crust. The currents swirl in ghostly patterns, disturbing clouds of sediment that reveal hidden life. Tube-worms cluster around the vent, their red plumes reaching upward, capturing energy not from the sun, but from the planet itself. Tiny crustaceans and snails feed nearby, while larger scavengers patrol the edges, waiting for opportunities. It is an ecosystem independent of the surface world, thriving entirely on chemical energy, a miracle of survival in the darkness. Suddenly, the sub's lights illuminate a shape that dwarfs anything we have seen before. A giant, elongated creature, easily the length of the sub itself. It drifts slowly, its translucent body reflecting pale hues of blue and green. Its eyes are enormous, reflecting light like polished pearls, intelligent and calm. This is a giant squid, a phantom of the deep, moving with an effortless grace that belies its immense size. Tentacles ripple in the current, trailing like smoke in slow motion. For a moment, it hovers beside the sub, unafraid, almost aware of our intrusion. Then it drifts away, vanishing into the black beyond, leaving only the faintest ripple in the water. The narrator speaks again, reverent, almost in awe. To witness a giant here is to glimpse eternity itself. Every movement is a reminder that life, even at its most alien, persists against impossible odds. Here, survival is not struggle, it is art. The trench floor begins to slope sharply downward, and sediment clouds stir in the faint currents. Ghostly fish move through them. Bioluminescent jellyfish pulse rhythmically, and tiny scavengers cling to fragments of whale bones that sank centuries ago. Bone-eating worms pierce the calcium with surgical precision, extracting every nutrient and releasing it into the water, feeding the smaller inhabitants of the trench. This is a place where death becomes sustenance, where the cycle of life continues with meticulous care. The sub's lights sweep across the canyon, revealing strange, mineralized towers, formations so fragile and intricate they appear almost artificial. Glass sponges cling to their sides, their translucent structures refracting light into subtle rainbows. Soft coral, faintly luminescent, drifts like smoke in the currents. Every organism, every formation, every pulse of light is perfectly adapted to survive in the crushing pressure and cold. Here, evolution has sculpted life into forms that are beautiful, delicate, and enduring beyond comprehension. A slow current stirs the trench, carrying clusters of drifting organisms. The sub moves alongside them, capturing the spectacle. Thousands of tiny creatures forming a luminous river that flows endlessly through the canyon. Each flicker, each glow is a survival strategy, a means of communication, a trace of life in a world where existence itself is a triumph. The silence around us makes every movement resonate. Every pulse of light, every ripple of water, every breath inside the sub feels amplified, monumental. The narrator's voice softens to a whisper, almost lost in the hum of the sub. The Hadal realm is not empty. It is not silent. It is alive, full of whispers, of pulses, of the slow heartbeat of life enduring where the world above cannot reach. To see it is to see eternity itself, patient, silent, unyielding. The sub drifts deeper, following the narrowing canyon toward the trench's ultimate depths. The darkness grows absolute, pierced only by the sub's lights and the faint glow of bioluminescent organisms. Ahead, the sonar registers vertical walls descending beyond measurement, and the pressure climbs steadily. Every meter is a challenge, every movement a triumph of engineering and human courage. And yet, beyond the lights, beyond comprehension, the Hadal realm stretches onward, eternal and untouched, a final frontier of the ocean's hidden life. The submersible continues its slow descent into the abyssal darkness, deeper than any light has ever reached, moving through a world where the ocean seems almost alive in its stillness. The walls of the trench rise steep and jagged on either side, coated with mineral deposits and faintly glowing bacterial colonies. Every crevice holds life, translucent sponges, tiny anemones, and delicate tube worms that sway like dancers in invisible currents. The pressure is immense, the temperature near freezing, and yet life thrives in quiet persistence. Ahead, faint pulses of light begin to appear. At first, they are scattered, isolated, almost imperceptible. Then, as the sub glides closer, the flickers form a slow, coordinated dance, a river of bioluminescent creatures drifting along the canyon floor. Small crustaceans pulse with electric blues and greens, their flickers echoing like whispers in the black. Tiny jellyfish drift in their midst, carrying other organisms in their bell folds, creating a luminous network of survival. It is a migration unlike anything witnessed on the surface, a slow, hypnotic river of light flowing in absolute darkness. The narrator's voice fills the cabin, calm and reverent. In the Hadal zone, light is rare, precious, sacred. It is not for display, not for beauty alone. It is communication, sustenance, survival. Every pulse tells a story. Every flicker is a message across the void. The sub drifts toward a ridge where the canyon walls rise sharply. Here, mineral towers stretch upward, draped in glass sponges and faintly luminescent coral. Their delicate structures refract the sub's lights into ghostly rainbows. Tiny crustaceans cling to every surface, harvesting microscopic food particles. Every organism seems perfectly adapted. No excess, no waste, only resilience sculpted to endure the extremes. The canyon walls are alive with subtle motion, a slow choreography of survival in the crushing pressure and utter darkness. Suddenly, a shadow crosses the lights, immense, deliberate, and silent. A giant deep-sea squid glides past, its tentacles trailing like ribbons, eyes enormous and reflective. It moves with effortless grace, unhurried, aware of the submersible but indifferent. For a moment, time seems suspended. The water holds its breath. Then the squid drifts into the darkness, leaving only a ripple in the water and a profound sense of awe. The narrator whispers, almost in awe, "To witness such giants is to glimpse eternity." Their presence reminds us that life in the deep is not frantic, not hurried. It is patient, precise, and unfathomably enduring. Deeper still, the sub encounters a hydrothermal seep. Warm, mineral-rich water rises in ghostly plumes, feeding communities of tubeworms and bacteria. The red plumes of the tubeworms sway slowly in the current, capturing chemical energy in a world without sunlight. Crustaceans scuttle among the worms, scavenging, feeding, existing in harmony with their environment. Above, tiny jellyfish pulse, illuminating the scene with soft, hypnotic light. The sub floats in quiet observation, witnessing a fully functional ecosystem sustained by the planet itself rather than the sun. A sudden current stirs, carrying clouds of fine sediment. From within the blackness, enormous translucent jellyfish appear, drifting past the sub. Some are longer than the craft itself, their bells pulsing slowly as if in rhythm with the heartbeat of the ocean. Tiny fish ride within their folds, hidden from predators, moving in harmony with their massive host. It is a world of symbiosis, of coexistence, where every organism's survival is interdependent, silent, and precise. The canyon floor drops again, sharply, revealing a sediment-laden plain littered with remnants of life from the surface above. Whale bones, shells, and fragments of organic matter lie scattered, slowly decomposing under the action of scavengers. Bone-eating worms bore into the remains, releasing nutrients into the water, which in turn feed crustaceans and tiny fish. Above them, larger predators glide silently, patient hunters in a world without light. It is a cycle of life and death stripped to its most fundamental essence, carried out in complete darkness, in extreme pressure, in silence. The narrator's voice continues, hushed and contemplative. Here, death is not an end. It is transformation. A body that sinks becomes nourishment. A life that ends becomes the beginning for countless others. In the Hadal realm, nothing is wasted, nothing is lost, and everything endures. The sub continues its journey, following the canyon as it twists and turns into deeper darkness. The walls close in, jagged cliffs rising like monoliths sculpted by time itself. Mineral veins glow faintly. Glass sponges cling to precarious ledges, and delicate corals sway in invisible currents. Life persists, fragile yet eternal. Every pulse of light, every flicker of movement is a testament to survival against unimaginable forces. Suddenly, movement appears above. A massive, ghostly manta drifts along the canyon ceiling. Its wings spread wide, translucent, glowing faintly from the bioluminescence of nearby organisms. It moves with effortless grace, indifferent to the submersible, a specter of the deep gliding silently through its domain. It is both beautiful and alien, a reminder that even in total darkness, life can achieve elegance and presence. The narrator speaks, voice soft, reverent. To witness this is to understand the deep ocean's paradox. It is cruel, relentless, and incomprehensible, yet it is also breathtakingly beautiful, orderly, and precise. The Hadal realm is not barren. It is alive, in ways the surface world can scarcely imagine. The sub drifts forward, deeper into the unknown. The canyon walls begin to converge, forming a narrow vertical shaft. The sonar returns fade, the water grows colder. The pressure climbs to nearly unimaginable levels. Beyond this point lies the deepest stretch of the trench, an unbroken darkness, a place where life survives against all odds, and where the ocean keeps its oldest secrets. The narrator's voice falls to a whisper. The Hadal realm stretches farther than we can see, into darkness deeper than thought. And yet, life endures, quiet, patient, eternal. To explore it is to witness the ocean's hidden heartbeat, a rhythm older than memory itself. The sub hovers, lights cutting through the black void, poised at the edge of this final frontier. Beyond, the trench descends into a place so remote, so extreme, it remains largely unexplored, a sanctuary of life perfected for endurance, patience, and silence. Here, at the edge of human exploration, the Hadal realm continues its eternal vigil, a world untouched, unbroken, and profoundly alive. The submersible drifts into the heart of the trench, a place where even light's faintest touch is swallowed almost immediately. The Hadal realm stretches endlessly, its walls rising sharply on either side, jagged and scarred by eons of tectonic upheaval. The pressure outside is immense, yet within the cabin, the world is calm, silent, and intensely focused. Every movement, every adjustment is deliberate, measured against the knowledge that the ocean here allows no mistakes. The floor of the trench is a shifting landscape of sediment, punctuated by scattered remnants of life from the surface. Bones of whales, fragmented shells, and decayed plant matter lie partially buried in silt. Tiny scavengers crawl along the remnants, harvesting every fragment, every particle. Ghostly amphipods drift above, their translucent bodies lit from within, creating the illusion of stars floating through an eternal night. Life in this realm is subtle, almost invisible, yet every organism is essential to the fragile balance of the trench ecosystem. The narrator's voice cuts through the quiet, deep and reflective. In these extreme depths, survival is both art and science. Every flicker of light, every movement, every pulse of water carries meaning. Here, life has mastered patience and precision in ways unimaginable to those who dwell above. As the submersible moves forward, strange bioluminescent patterns begin to emerge on the canyon walls. Small jellyfish pulse rhythmically, signaling to one another in a silent, shimmering conversation. Tiny crustaceans flash bursts of light, confusing predators or attracting mates. The canyon becomes alive with a subtle luminescent symphony, a quiet display of communication and survival. It is a delicate dance that has continued for millennia, largely unnoticed by the world above, yet perfect in its complexity. Deeper into the trench, the terrain begins to rise in jagged spires of basalt and mineral deposits. These natural towers are adorned with life. Soft corals, translucent sponges, and clusters of tubeworms that sway gently in the currents. Each organism thrives in a balance of fragility and resilience, impervious to the crushing pressures and near-freezing temperatures. The sub hovers near one of these spires, the cameras capturing details invisible to the naked eye. Here, survival is a quiet, precise endeavor, a testament to evolution's unwavering hand. Suddenly, movement catches the sub's lights, a long, sinuous form drifting across the canyon floor. It is a giant deep-sea squid, its tentacles flowing like ribbons in the water, eyes reflective and intelligent. The creature pauses, gliding alongside the sub as if assessing the intrusion, then continues into the darkness, leaving a ripple in its wake. The presence of such a creature reminds the crew that even in this alien environment, life can achieve astonishing scale and grace, coexisting silently in a realm of unimaginable pressure. The narrator's voice softens, contemplative. To witness a giant in these depths is to see patience incarnate. Every movement, deliberate. Every survival strategy, perfected over millennia. Here, life has no hurry, no waste, no noise. Only precision and endurance. As the sub glides further, it encounters a hydrothermal vent, smaller than those of the abyssal plains, but no less extraordinary. Warm mineral-rich water rises in ghostly plumes, nourishing tube worms whose red plumes sway delicately in the currents. Small crustaceans scuttle among them, harvesting nutrients released from chemical reactions deep within the Earth's crust. Tiny bioluminescent fish hover above, their eyes reflecting faint glows, while ghostly jellyfish drift silently in the currents. The ecosystem thrives entirely independent of sunlight, sustained by energy drawn from the planet's interior. The trench floor drops again, revealing an area littered with the remains of long-dead surface creatures. Whale bones, shells, and decaying matter are colonized by scavengers, and bone-eating worms burrow with meticulous precision. Tiny crustaceans and amphipods swarm over every fragment, extracting sustenance from decay. Above, slow-moving predators drift in the darkness, their large, reflective eyes surveying the landscape. In the Hadal realm, life is a subtle, silent interplay of predator and prey, death and renewal, endurance and patience. The narrator reflects, voice low and reverent. Here, every act of life is measured. Every flicker of light, every pulse of movement, every act of feeding or hunting is precise, perfected by eons of isolation and pressure. The trench is not a grave. It is a sanctuary, a cathedral of endurance. As the sub approaches a narrow canyon within the trench, bioluminescent signals become more complex. Patterns of light ripple across the walls as schools of tiny fish move in unison, communicating, evading predators, and hunting. Jellyfish drift lazily in the current, their delicate bodies reflecting faint glows of other organisms. The canyon seems alive, not with sound, but with the pulse of existence itself, a slow, measured heartbeat of the Hadal depths. The sub glides over the canyon floor, revealing mineralized towers covered in soft coral and sponges. Crustaceans dart in and out of the shadows, moving in constant search for sustenance. The canyon's walls rise sharply, their surfaces etched with scars from tectonic movements, providing countless niches for life to cling, feed, and survive. Every meter of the trench is a testament to resilience, adaptation, and the quiet artistry of survival in extreme conditions. The narrator's voice grows hushed, almost reverent. The Hadal realm is a world of extremes. Pressure, darkness, cold. Yet life not only survives, it thrives. It adapts, endures, and persists. Every organism here is a reminder that life, no matter how fragile it may seem, is capable of astonishing endurance and beauty. The sub continues its journey deeper into the trench, following the canyon as it twists into blackness. Ahead, the walls converge, forming a narrow vertical shaft. Beyond lies the very heart of the trench, a place where pressures exceed comprehension and where life exists in forms we are only beginning to understand. In this silent, alien world, the secrets of the Hadal realm await, hidden in darkness, preserved by eons, and waiting to reveal themselves to those who dare to descend. The submersible drifts deeper into the trench, its lights piercing only a narrow tunnel of blackness. The Hadal realm stretches endlessly in every direction, a silent cathedral where life exists on the edge of possibility. The walls of the canyon rise steep and jagged, coated with mineral deposits and veiled in faint bioluminescent light. Delicate sponges cling to every crevice, their translucent forms swaying like dancers, while clusters of tube worms extend their feathery plumes into the slow-moving currents. It is a world of patience, precision, and survival sculpted by pressure, darkness, and time. Tiny flickers of light appear, drifting lazily in the inky water. Amphipods, their translucent bodies aglow, form a constellation of slow, deliberate motion. Small jellyfish pulse rhythmically, their soft luminescence scattering across the canyon walls. Each movement is purposeful, a signal, a warning, a lure, or a beacon. In this eternal darkness, communication is a language of light. Every flicker, every pulse, tells a story written over millions of years of evolution, preserved in the silence of the deep. The narrator's voice resonates, soft and reflective. Here, in the deepest corners of the ocean, life has learned patience beyond imagination. Every pulse, every shimmer, every motion is part of an intricate web, a story of survival written in light and shadow. The sub glides over a ridge of mineralized rock, observing colonies of tube worms clustered near a faint hydrothermal seep. Warm water rises gently from fissures, carrying minerals that sustain entire ecosystems. Crustaceans scuttle across the rocky surface, harvesting nutrients from the chemical-rich waters. Small fish hover nearby, their eyes reflecting the sub's glow. Above them, ghostly jellyfish drift, their bodies pulsing in rhythm with the unseen currents. This ecosystem is entirely independent of sunlight, a testament to life's adaptability in a world where pressure and darkness dominate. Suddenly, a shadow drifts across the sub's path. A massive deep-sea squid glides past, its tentacles flowing like ribbons. Its eyes, vast and reflective, seem to measure the sub's intrusion, curious yet cautious. The creature's sheer size is staggering, dwarfing the craft and filling the water with an otherworldly presence. It moves with elegance, slow and deliberate, embodying the principles of survival perfected in the crushing darkness. Then, as silently as it appeared, it vanishes into the black beyond, leaving only a ripple and a profound sense of awe. The narrator's voice softens, almost a whisper. To encounter such a being is to witness evolution's poetry. Here, even the giants move with patience. Every motion is deliberate, every survival strategy honed to perfection over millennia. The trench floor begins to slope sharply downward. Sediment clouds stir gently in the currents, revealing glimpses of ghostly translucent fish drifting in the abyss. Tiny scavengers cling to the canyon walls, extracting nutrients from organic matter that drifts down from the surface above. Among them, bioluminescent creatures create a faint, glowing tapestry, a river of light flowing through the darkness. This silent procession illustrates a principle unique to the Hadal realm. Survival is a quiet, precise act, executed without haste or waste. The sub approaches a vertical shaft within the trench, walls rising like monoliths. Mineral towers jut from the canyon floor, adorned with soft coral, glass sponges, and faintly glowing bacterial mats. Crustaceans dart in and out of every crevice, while small fish drift between the shadows. The canyon is alive with imperceptible motion, a subtle choreography of life in extreme conditions. Every flicker of light, every pulse, every movement serves a purpose, a dance of survival that has endured unbroken for millions of years. A slow current carries clusters of jellyfish past the sub. Some are larger than the craft itself, their translucent bells pulsing rhythmically as they glide silently. Tiny fish take refuge within their folds, coexisting in perfect harmony. Above, small crustaceans ride the currents, harvesting nutrients as they move. The scene is breathtaking, almost spiritual, a living testament to life's ingenuity in the most extreme conditions. The narrator reflects, voice hushed and reverent. The Hadal realm is a paradox. Cruel, unyielding, and inhospitable, yet filled with grace, ingenuity, and resilience. Every life form is a monument to adaptation, a quiet triumph of survival. The canyon floor drops again, revealing scattered remnants of long-dead creatures from the surface. Whale bones lie partially buried in the silt, colonized by scavengers and mineral-eating worms. Tiny crustaceans swarm over every fragment, extracting nourishment from decay. Above, slow-moving predators drift in the water, their reflective eyes scanning for prey. Life and death exist in perfect equilibrium, a balance refined over eons, unaffected by the sun or surface turbulence. The sub-sonar begins to register vertical walls descending beyond measurable limits. Ahead, darkness becomes absolute, a void where even bioluminescent creatures are scarce. The pressure climbs steadily, testing both the craft and human endurance. Yet the trench continues, vast and unbroken, holding secrets that have existed since the ocean's earliest days. It is a sanctuary of life perfected for survival, a realm beyond human comprehension, and an eternal testament to the resilience of nature. The narrator concludes, voice low and lingering. To explore the Hadal realm is to witness the unimaginable. A place without sun, without warmth, yet teeming with life. Every organism, every flicker of light, every pulse of movement is a testament to patience, endurance, and the extraordinary tenacity of life. The sub drifts forward, deeper into the shadowed canyon. Ahead lies the trench's most extreme depths, a place where few humans have ventured, where pressures reach their zenith, and where life persists in forms that defy understanding. In this silent, alien world, the secrets of the trench wait, preserved by eons, untouched by time, and alive in the quiet, deliberate rhythm of survival. The submersible drifts further into the trench, descending into a darkness so absolute it feels as though the ocean itself has swallowed the world above. Pressure mounts steadily, the water cold and dense, pressing in from every direction. Here, the Hadal realm reveals its secrets slowly, layer by layer, as though granting permission to those willing to endure the journey. The canyon walls rise like ancient submerged cliffs, jagged and scarred by tectonic violence over millions of years. Every crevice hosts life, tiny yet vital. Translucent sponges, delicate anemones, and tubeworms swaying rhythmically in imperceptible currents. Tiny pulses of bioluminescence flicker across the darkness. Small crustaceans drift lazily, glowing softly from within, while jellyfish pulse in gentle, hypnotic rhythms. These lights are not random. They are a language, a code refined over eons, conveying warning, courtship, or guidance. In a world where sound is nearly non-existent and sunlight is a memory, light becomes life's medium of communication. The sub hovers quietly, capturing the slow dance of these luminous signals, each flicker a testament to survival in the extreme. The narrator's voice resonates through the cabin, calm yet infused with awe. In the Hadal depths, patience is life. Every pulse, every shimmer, every movement carries meaning. To witness this is to understand endurance perfected over millions of years. As the sub glides along the canyon floor, enormous mineral towers emerge from the sediment. These formations, coated with sponges, coral, and bacterial mats, rise like silent sentinels. Tiny crustaceans dart in and out of crevices, harvesting organic matter carried down from the surface. Above them, small bioluminescent fish hover, their eyes reflecting faint lights. Every organism exists in delicate balance, each perfectly adapted to the extremes of pressure, cold, and darkness. Suddenly, a shadow drifts across the sub's path. A giant squid, immense and sinuous, glides past with an elegance that belies its size. Its tentacles ripple like ribbons in slow motion, and its reflective eyes regard the sub with quiet intelligence. It pauses momentarily, hovering in the blackness, then disappears, leaving only a ripple in its wake. The creature embodies the perfect union of strength and grace, survival honed to its purest form. The narrator's voice softens, almost a whisper. To encounter such a being is to glimpse eternity itself. Every movement is deliberate, every survival strategy honed by pressure, darkness, and time. The canyon floor slopes downward sharply, revealing ghostly clouds of sediment disturbed by faint currents. Translucent fish drift among the clouds, while tiny scavengers cling to the canyon walls, extracting nourishment from remnants of organic matter. The bioluminescent creatures create a slow, flowing river of light, a silent procession that illuminates the rhythm of life in the trench. Here, survival is an art of patience, precision, and subtlety, a contrast to the chaotic struggle often seen above. The sub moves toward a small hydrothermal seep, a faint plume of mineral-rich water spiraling upward. Tube worms cluster around the vent, their red plumes swaying in rhythm with the currents. Crustaceans scuttle along the rocky substrate, and ghostly jellyfish drift through the nutrient-rich waters. Each organism thrives without sunlight, relying solely on chemical energy expelled from the Earth's crust. It is a living ecosystem, independent, resilient, and refined over millennia. A sudden current carries clusters of large jellyfish past the sub. Their translucent bodies glow faintly, pulsating slowly. Tiny fish shelter within their folds, and crustaceans cling to their edges, creating a symbiotic tableau. The scene is mesmerizing, almost spiritual, as it illustrates cooperation, survival, and adaptation in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. The narrator speaks again, reverent. The Hadal realm is a world of paradox. Harsh, unyielding, yet filled with elegance and balance. Every life form here is a monument to endurance. Every movement, a testament to resilience. As the sub drifts deeper, scattered remnants of surface life become more frequent. Whale bones, broken shells, and fragments of organic matter litter the sediment. Tiny bone-eating worms pierce through remnants, extracting nutrients and releasing them into the surrounding water. Crustaceans swarm over the fragments, scavenging silently, while predators hover above, eyes reflecting the faint bioluminescence. Life and death exist in perfect equilibrium, a continuous cycle preserved by the ocean's extremes. The canyon narrows, walls rising like monoliths, and the sub hovers at the precipice of the trench's deepest stretch. Sonar readings begin to fade as the abyss deepens beyond measurable limits. Bioluminescent flickers grow sparse, the darkness absolute. Pressure climbs steadily, testing the sub and the crew alike. Beyond this point lies the most remote section of the Hadal Zone, a world largely untouched and preserved since the ocean's earliest days. The narrator's voice lowers, hushed and reflective. To explore this realm is to confront the unimaginable. A world without sun, without warmth, yet teeming with life. Here, existence is not frantic. It is precise, enduring, and eternal. The secrets of the trench are preserved in darkness, waiting for those who dare to descend. The sub drifts silently toward the uncharted depths, lights cutting through the black void. Ahead lies the final frontier of the ocean, a place where pressure is supreme, where darkness reigns, and where life thrives against all odds. In this silent, alien world, the secrets of the Hadal realm endure, preserved by time, unbroken, and profoundly alive.